why do the worst people seem to succeed while those who play fair struggle? You see it everywhere. Corrupt leaders, ruthless CEOs, and manipulative figures who rise to the top while the honest and hard-working are left behind. Why does the world reward those who lie, exploit, and dominate? Is success truly rigged in favor of the worst among us, or is there a hidden truth about power that most people refuse to see? What if I told you that morality as we know it might actually be a weakness? That those who hesitate, who seek fairness in an unfair world, are the very ones who get left behind? Before you dismiss this as cynical thinking, consider this. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most controversial philosophers in history, argued that success is not about being good or bad. It's about understanding the brutal nature of power itself. And today, we're going to explore exactly why the ruthless rise, why the good struggle, and what this means for you. In this video, we'll break down Nietzsche's radical ideas about power, morality, and success. If you've ever felt like the system is rigged against good people, you need to hear this. The truth about power, why morality may actually be limiting your potential. Nietzsche's master versus slave morality, the hidden framework that determines who thrives and who struggles. How ruthless individuals seize power and why many of them ultimately fall. The secret to navigating a world that rewards the strong without becoming corrupt yourself. By the end of this video, you'll understand the real game of power, why society is structured the way it is, and most importantly, how you can turn these insights into an advantage in your own life. Because here's the truth, the game has always been played. The question is, are you willing to learn the rules? Throughout history, we've been taught that good prevails over evil, that fairness leads to success, and that integrity is rewarded. Yet, when we look at the real world, the opposite seems to be true. Ruthless leaders dominate politics, cutthroat entrepreneurs build billion-dollar empires, and manipulative individuals climb the social ladder with ease. Why is it that the most ruthless, the least empathetic, and those willing to break the rules often seem to come out on top? The answer lies in a fundamental truth about power. It is not about morality, it is about control. In a world driven by competition, power doesn't flow to those who deserve it. It flows to those who take it. While the kind-hearted hesitate, waiting for permission or fairness, those who embrace power without hesitation rise above the rest. This is not a modern phenomenon, it is an age-old pattern embedded in human psychology and social structures. Imagine a battlefield. Two warriors stand side by side. One is strong, decisive, and unafraid. He sees the battlefield for what it is, merciless, indifferent, and driven by survival. He acts without hesitation, taking control of his fate. The other warrior, however, hesitates. He wants to be fair, to fight with honor, to wait for the right moment. But in the world of battle, hesitation is death. The strong warrior moves forward while the hesitant one is left behind. This battlefield is not just a metaphor for war, it applies to business, politics, social dynamics, and even personal relationships. Those who hesitate, who wait for external validation, who expect fairness in an unfair world, are at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, those who embrace power as a force to be used, not questioned, rise above them. To understand why power rewards the ruthless, we need to explore one of Nietzsche's most radical ideas, master morality versus slave morality. According to Nietzsche, morality is not universal. It is not some objective force of justice. It is a tool, a construct created through power struggles. Master morality, the morality of the strong, the rulers, the conquerors. It values power, ambition, courage, and self-reliance. To the masters, what is good is what enhances their strength and control. They do not seek approval. They define their own worth. Now, what is slave morality? The morality of the weak, the oppressed, the powerless. It values humility, obedience, and self-sacrifice. It teaches that suffering is noble, that power is evil, and that submission is virtuous. Nietzsche argued that this morality was not developed out of genuine virtue, but as a psychological adaptation, a way for the powerless to justify their position in a world ruled by the strong. And here lies the brutal truth. While the noble-hearted hesitate, questioning whether they should pursue power, those who embrace master morality seize it. Those who believe power is corrupt leave power in the hands of the truly corrupt. Those who believe ambition is selfish allow others who have no such doubts to shape the world. Society conditions us to believe that power is inherently bad, that wanting to succeed is selfish, and that taking control is dangerous. But who benefits from this belief? Those who already hold power. This is why Nietzsche saw slave morality not as a force of virtue, but as a form of psychological control. By convincing people that power is bad, they remain passive. They do not challenge the system, they do not rise. And those who reject this conditioning, they become the rulers, the innovators, the history makers. Nietzsche's ideas align closely with modern evolutionary psychology. If we look at human history, we see that competition is an unavoidable part of existence. First thing is that resources are scarce. Whether it's food, shelter, wealth, or influence, there is always a limited supply of what people want. Second thing is that competition is inevitable. In an environment where not everyone can win, those who hesitate lose by default. Third is that traits that increase dominance are favored. Throughout history, those who were ambitious, fearless, and strategically ruthless outperformed those who relied solely on cooperation. Now, the last one is empathy is a liability, if not controlled. Studies in competitive environments show that while empathy is valuable for building relationships, excessive empathy makes people vulnerable to manipulation. This is why many highly successful individuals have a reduced sensitivity to guilt or hesitation when making high-stakes decisions. Does this mean that all powerful people are psychopaths? Number. But it does mean that those who lack the ability to act decisively, without being burdened by excessive guilt or self-doubt, are less likely to succeed in competitive arenas. This is why, throughout history, we see a recurring pattern. Ruthless emperors like Julius Caesar seizing control while his enemies hesitate. Powerful business moguls making aggressive moves while their competition overthinks. Political leaders who manipulate public perception while others play by the rules. Hesitation is a liability. Power is taken, not given. But the thing is that ruthlessness alone isn't enough. If ruthlessness were the only factor in success, then every tyrant would rule forever. But history tells a different story. Many of the most ruthless individuals rise quickly, only to fall even harder. Why? Because raw aggression without strategy leads to downfall. Power requires wisdom, self-awareness, and long-term vision. The very qualities that allow someone to seize power, ruthlessness, manipulation, control, can also turn against them when taken too far. A leader who rules only through fear will eventually face rebellion. A business mogul who exploits too many people will lose loyalty. A conqueror who expands too fast will overextend and collapse. So while the ruthless often rise quickly, the truly powerful stay on top by balancing ambition with intelligence. If the world rewards the ruthless, does that mean you should abandon integrity altogether? Not necessarily. The real answer lies in understanding power as a tool, not as an evil. First thing is that you have to stop expecting fairness. The world is not fair, and success does not come from waiting for justice. It comes from taking action. Second thing is that master strategic thinking. Learn to navigate the game of power without being naive. The third one is develop controlled ruthlessness. Make bold decisions, stand firm in your goals, and refuse to be manipulated without losing your humanity. Now, the last one is don't just take, build. The most powerful figures in history were not just takers, they were creators. Because at the end of the day, power is neutral. It is not inherently good or bad, it is simply a force. The question is, will you learn to use it? But if ruthless people rise to power, why do so many of them fall? What's the fatal flaw in their strategy? Stay with me, because the answer reveals the difference between short-term dominance and true mastery. Yes, ruthless people succeed, but they also often fail spectacularly. Why? Throughout history, we've seen a disturbing pattern. The most ruthless, manipulative, and morally ambiguous individuals often rise to power while the kind-hearted struggle. Why does this happen? Are these people just lucky, Or is there a deeper strategy at play? The truth is, power is not about fairness or virtue, it's about understanding the game and playing it better than everyone else. The ruthless are not necessarily smarter, more talented, or even stronger. They simply grasp certain principles of power that most people ignore or reject. Now the question is, what are the core strategies of the ruthless number one? They understand the game and don't expect fairness. Most people operate under an illusion, the belief that life is fair, that good behavior will be rewarded, and that following the rules will lead to success. This is called the just world fallacy, the idea that justice is built into the universe and that people get what they deserve. But the ruthless know better. They understand that fairness is a concept invented to maintain social order, not an actual force governing the world. Instead of wasting time hoping for justice, they adapt, strategize, and manipulate the system to their advantage. They study human nature, understanding how people think, what motivates them, and how they can be influenced. They exploit loopholes, whether in business, politics, or social interactions. They identify weaknesses in the system and use them to get ahead. They don't waste time on fairness. They don't sit around waiting for rewards. They take what they want. The example for strategy is Julius Caesar, who rose to power not by waiting for an opportunity, but by creating one, manipulating alliances, bending political norms, and ultimately seizing control of Rome. Number two, they act without hesitation. While others overthink, one of the biggest differences between the powerful and the powerless is speed of decision-making. Most people hesitate, seeking approval or fearing failure. The ruthless move forward while everyone else is still thinking. They understand that power is taken, not given, and that if you wait too long, someone else will take the opportunity first. Studies in high-pressure decision-making reveal that those who can suppress fear and doubt are more likely to succeed in leadership positions. The ruthless are not necessarily fearless, but they have trained themselves to act despite fear. The example for this strategy is Napoleon Bonaparte, whose military conquests were based on speed and decisiveness. While his enemies debated and hesitated, he acted, striking before they could react. Number three, they prioritize power over approval. Most people crave social validation. They want to be liked, respected, and accepted by others. But this need for approval is a weakness. It makes people hesitant, fearful of criticism, and unwilling to take necessary risks. The ruthless do not ask for permission. They take action. They do not waste energy seeking approval. They understand that power is more important than popularity. They are willing to make enemies because they know that success often comes at the cost of upsetting others. They can walk away from toxic relationships, failed deals, or outdated ideas without guilt or attachment. Example for this strategy is Steve Jobs. Though he is admired for his innovation, was notoriously ruthless in his pursuit of success. He prioritized results over relationships, firing employees without hesitation and demanding absolute excellence. The result? One of the most successful companies in history. So does this mean that ruthlessness is the only path to success? Not quite. History is filled with individuals who rose quickly through aggression and manipulation, only to fall just as fast. Tyrants who ruled through fear eventually faced rebellion. CEOs who exploited their workers often ended up facing massive public backlash. Political figures who lied and manipulated too much eventually lost trust and influence. The secret to long-term power is not just ruthlessness, it's wisdom. The truly powerful are not just takers, they are creators. They don't just exploit, they build something greater than themselves. They balance ambition with strategic restraint. Julius Caesar was ruthless, but he also won public favor by giving back to the people of Rome. He didn't just take power, he secured it by making himself indispensable. This is why Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, Overman, is so important. The truly powerful do not rise just to dominate. They rise to transcend limitations, create and impose meaning upon a meaningless world. The question is, will you remain a passive player in the game of power, or will you learn to play it on your own terms? Some believe power is inherently evil, but what if that's just another illusion designed to keep you weak? Stay with me, because we're about to break down Nietzsche's greatest idea, the path to transcending both weakness and cruelty. At this stage, viewers have likely absorbed the idea that ruthlessness can lead to success. Some may even start to feel uncomfortable. Do I have to be ruthless to succeed? Is there no alternative? Is power evil? Or is that just what we've been conditioned to believe? If ruthlessness and power-seeking are so effective, does that mean we must abandon morality and play the game of the worst people to succeed? Nietzsche offers a different answer, one that doesn't require becoming a mindless tyrant, but instead challenges us to transcend both weakness and cruelty to forge our own path. Nietzsche's philosophy was never about embracing evil or endorsing oppression. Instead, he argued that power should not be feared, but mastered. The key difference between those who fall into corruption and those who rise above is self-mastery, the ability to wield power without being enslaved by it. Let's break this down into 4 essential principles for success without losing your soul. Number 1, understand power without being enslaved by it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that power is inherently evil. This assumption creates 2 types of people. 1, the powerless idealists. They reject power, believing it is corrupt, and remain trapped in a system they don't control. 2, the mindless ruthless. They embrace power blindly, trampling over others without wisdom and ultimately self-destruct. Nietzsche calls for a 3rd type of individual, the one who understands power, respects it, and wields it intelligently without being controlled by it. Accept that the world is not fair. Power is taken, not given. The strongest do not wait for justice, they create it. Observe how power operates in every system. Study history, leadership, influence, and manipulation, not to exploit others, but to avoid being exploited yourself. Never let power own you. The worst rulers in history were not just powerful, they were slaves to their own ambition, paranoia, and need for control. The key is to wield power consciously, not out of desperation or insecurity, but as a means to create, protect, and lead. Number 2, master strategic empathy. Read people without being naive. One of Nietzsche's most overlooked insights is that the truly powerful are not blind aggressors. They are highly aware of human nature. They read people, understand motivations, and anticipate behavior. Strategic empathy is the ability to understand others deeply, not just to relate, but to predict their moves and control outcomes. This is not manipulation, it is awareness. The ruthless succeed because they understand the emotional weaknesses of others. The wise succeed because they understand human nature while maintaining integrity. How to develop strategic empathy? 1. Observe without reacting. Pay attention to how people behave, what they fear, and what they desire. 2. Never assume people will play fair. Even good people act out of self-interest. Understand their incentives before making assumptions. 3. Control your own emotions. The moment you react impulsively, you lose. The truly powerful stay composed, even in chaos. Nietzsche would argue that true wisdom comes not from blind trust or ruthless cynicism, but from mastering perception. If you can read the game better than anyone else, you don't need to be ruthless. You'll always be one step ahead. Number 3. Cultivate controlled ruthlessness. Take action without cruelty. Many people fail because they hesitate. They wait for approval, fear making the wrong decision, or avoid confrontation at all costs. Meanwhile, those who act decisively, take risks, and enforce their will shape the world. The Übermensch, Nietzsche's ideal evolved individual, is not reckless but decisive. They do not seek permission to lead. They step forward and act. They know when to cut ties, walk away, or make hard choices without guilt. However, controlled ruthlessness is not cruelty. It is the ability to act without being paralyzed by emotions, guilt, or fear. It means making difficult choices when necessary. Leadership often requires saying no or removing obstacles, not being afraid to walk away. Some relationships, deals, or careers will never serve you. Learn to detach, protecting your energy. Ruthless people drain others. Instead, Be selective with who you invest in. The worst leaders become tyrants because they lose control of their own power. The true Übermensch wields strength with wisdom and restraint. Number 4, focus on creation, not exploitation. The greatest downfall of the ruthless is that they build nothing. They take, manipulate, and dominate, but they do not create. And that is why they eventually fall. Nietzsche argued that the ultimate goal of power is not destruction, but creation. The highest form of success is not in taking from others, but in building something greater than yourself. The truly powerful leave a legacy. They innovate, create movements, build industries, and elevate ideas. They don't just seek power for its own sake. They have a mission, a purpose that goes beyond personal gain. They focus on impact. Their power serves a greater vision, one that lasts beyond their lifetime. Consider figures like Leonardo da Vinci, Marcus Aurelius, or Tesla, men who understood power but used it to advance humanity rather than dominate it. If you seek power, seek it with a purpose. What are you building? What impact will you leave behind? Are you just chasing success, or are you creating something meaningful? True power is not ruthlessness, it is vision. Nietzsche's philosophy does not demand that you become a tyrant, nor does it ask you to be weak and passive. It demands that you see reality for what it is, master yourself, and rise above mediocrity. Power is neither good nor evil. It is simply a force, and how you wield it determines your fate. Stop waiting for fairness. It won't come. Stop fearing power. Master it instead. Stop hesitating. Start acting with purpose. The world is not fair. Success does not come from waiting. It comes from mastering power on your own terms. The question now is, how will you rise? But here's the ultimate question. If power itself isn't evil, then why do so many leaders become corrupt? Is it the nature of power itself, or does it simply reveal who we really are? We'll explore that in just a moment. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on the key takeaways from today's deep dive into power, success, and Nietzsche's philosophy. Power is not given, it is taken. Waiting for fairness keeps you weak. Nietzsche's master versus slave morality explains why the ruthless rise and why hesitation leads to failure. The strongest competitors accept reality as it is, not as they wish it to be. The key to success is balancing strategy with integrity. Power is a tool, not a curse. The Übermensch does not seek power for domination, but for creation. The world does not reward the kind-hearted. It rewards those who can balance kindness with strength, empathy with strategy, and vision with action. But what happens when you go beyond mere power and tap into the highest form of mastery? Some leaders rule through fear, but the true masters shape reality itself. Could you learn to do the same? In my next video, we'll explore the path of the Übermensch, the individual who transcends both morality and ruthlessness to create a new world. Click here to watch the next step in your journey, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep insights into power, philosophy, and the hidden forces shaping your reality. The game has always been played. Now it's time to play it on your own terms. Your journey to mastering power starts now. Are you ready? Click now and take the next step. The